How about the story that A&M paid Appalachian State $1.5 million to come in, and people do that. Teams do that. Usually it's going to be about $1 million or so, especially Marshall. I'm sure Georgia Southern got a big fat check and then beat A&M. And by doing that, they flipped the narrative of where they would play or have game day this weekend. It was going to be A&M in Miami, in College Station. And now it's in Boone, North Carolina.
It's almost as if A&M made a bet with App State that if you beat us, you can have game day. That's remarkable, but that's what those guarantee games do. Sometimes you pay a team $1.5 million to come in and beat you, and you pay them $1.5 million to reevaluate every single thing you do, which is what Jimbo Fisher says they're doing right now. The top 5 today will be the top 5 things Jimbo Fisher needs to do, to get over, to get past this. But they don't start scoring points. It can be really, really ugly for A&M. That was abysmal, and they paid $1.5 million to expose themselves. Essentially, what they did.
Yeah, and I think that they have to come out of that game, Craig. Don't you think as well? They weren't able to just take what they have, their athletes and their size and whoever they are, and just beat up Appalachian State. Nebraska couldn't do it to Georgia Southern. Notre Dame couldn't do it to Marshall. But I think if you're A&M with all of what you have in front of you and you can't do that, that's got to be the loss is worse. But you also could not dictate the offense and defensive line.
Yeah, but like you said, there's a couple of other examples of, pretty much the same thing going on elsewhere. It wasn't unique to them, and certainly, I don't think you're hanging your head too much about who it was to. it's not like they're just some nobody that's never won a big game before, defeated a giant before. I get all the hand-wringing. I'm just not sitting here surprised by it. Not saying that I'm not surprised by them losing. It's A&M, man. This is not Alabama we're talking about. I'm sorry. It's just, this isn't Ohio State. This isn't even Oklahoma. I think that there's definitely some need for a little bit of panic for certainly, the folks who are super invested that this thing is still not where it needs to be, and looks like they're headed towards yet another 8-4 type of season, which is basically what they are at this point. They're 8-4 university. That's traditionally year in and year out what they are. I know the aspirations are much higher. The investments have been much higher, but I don't know what else to say other than, Appalachian State came in, hit them in the mouth, and dictated it physically. And, you can't just buy physicality. You can't just buy wins against tough teams. And A&M's got to look in the mirror and figure out, do they think they're going to win championships by just spending more money on things than everybody else? Or are they actually going to look in the mirror, kind of like Texas seems like maybe they're actually doing, and figure out that, the culture also matters as well. And the culture is part of the reason why, Appalachian State and the Sun Belt was basically able to just have a party this weekend, is because they have strong cultures, and they're not blinded by NIL races and 5-star recruits and all of that. Now, you can have all of those things and be successful with all those things and juggle and navigate all those things and overcome all those things. But when there's not a lot of substance to those things, then they're just things, and they're easy to, they're like a paper wall. They're easy to run through, and that's what you saw on Saturday. It's like, oh wow, you have 5-star recruits and you have 100,000 plus people in the stands, whatever, but you're not tough, and you can't hang in the trenches with us, and you can't go with us for 4 quarters. Do something about it, and they couldn't. So they could pay themselves to get a win there, and they tried to, really, with the $1 million+ they paid App State. But, culture won out ultimately, and that's not always going to be the case. You can have a great culture, but just not nearly close enough talent to be able to win a game like that. But App State's built different, and they are built different, and that's one that you should have seen coming. Like, hey, if there were some questions about sort of who you are, if maybe there's a little bit too much attention being paid on the ranking or this or that, that's something that Jimbo's got to figure out. They were clearly not in the right mindset for that game and weren't ready in other areas as well, and that was evident. And now that's why you have a week where, it's go back to the drawing board time, and it's a little bit of panic time as well.
Well, maybe they were ready. They just got beat.
And maybe they were. And you know what? Maybe that's a little scarier to admit, but maybe that's the case.
A&M dropped 18 spots in one poll and 16 in another. We mentioned Texas moving up after the loss to Alabama, which was so close to being like a rocket ship into the polls. And with all due respect,
good Lord, how high would they have jumped if they had won that game?
But you know what? This is about A&M.
Oh, okay.
No, A&M should not be ranked. They should not be in the top 25. Even if they were, they shouldn't be. It doesn't make any sense. And if they want to earn themselves back into the poll, let them beat Miami. I'm not saying that they're not better than the 23 or 24 teams in front of them, but I don't understand. There's nothing wrong with people just like disappearing from the poll. And I don't think you have to be beaten twice to disappear from the poll if you were overranked in the first place, because obviously they were, and now they get Miami, and Miami's up near the top 10 somewhere at 13 in both polls. All right, a couple other notes.